With that, something that you can use to balance. So I'll be using these guys, dowels, you can use broomsticks. If you've got like an ottoman, that usually works best, for a desk chair where you can kind of take the leg over the top of it. You won't need to do that initially, but that's kind of where we're at from a setup standpoint. You will need something to help you balance.
Okay, making sure that we've got something like dowels, broomsticks, something to make sure that we have something that you can balance. Nikki, maybe even the bookshelf will be enough. Because we're going to be doing a lot of stuff on one foot, if at any point balance becomes an issue, let me know so that I can make sure that I'm adjusting my demonstrations and that you can be kneeling, half kneeling as well for everything. So let's go ahead and start our cars. If you've got your rolled up tennis ball, or excuse me, your tennis balls, your rolled up socks, we're going to go ahead and start with our neck cars or cervical cars. So I'm going to come in front of our box just so everybody can see. Okay, so we're starting to trap that air. We're radiating that tension and we're driving down. From here, we're slowly pulling our chin to our chest. Scrape that collarbone to the left. Look back behind that armpit. Remember, everything we're doing is pain-free ranges of motion only. Nothing we're doing at any point should be painful as we're going through these. If you feel a pinch, imagine right here as you start to go back, you've got a pinch, back off a little, go around it as best you can, and continue your cars. If you still feel the pinch, and that means your cars kind of look like this, that is perfectly fine. I'm totally okay with a tiny range of motion if it means it's a pain-free range of motion, okay? We've got one more each way. Scrape that left collarbone, back behind the left armpit, up over the top, behind the right armpit, down to the front, scrape that right collarbone, come back, all the way up and across. I'm realizing now that my hat is scraping my headphones and making all kinds of funny noises. Okay, so we're going on to our spine. We're gonna come here, we're crossing those arms over our chest, squeezing in, giving yourself a little bit of a hug, and we're gonna go ahead and flex forward. Vertebrae by vertebrae, one vertebrae at a time, making sure that the butt is not pooching out behind us, it's staying right underneath us as best we can. We're gonna start by rotating to our left, so bring the rib cage across. From there, squeeze into that left side as best you can. Follow that position around to the left rear, up through a nice long extended spine, around to the right, down and around to the front. Give me a tension check, and we're going back the other direction. To the right, squeeze into the right, coming back, and as we extend, it's long spine. So if you watch, I could extend further through one particular segment, but what I want to do is I want that to be a more global extension. So I'm looking for it all the way through my spine as I bring it across. One more time, reverse, left, up and across. Down and around to the front. To the right. Nice long extended spine. Around, keeping those hips underneath you. And we're back to center. Beautiful. We're going on to our shoulder blades. So we're gripping those tennis balls. Thumbs are up. We're radiating tension through the forearms, into the shoulders, into the armpits. Pull the shoulder blades to your ears. Pinch back. Slide the shoulder blades down your rib cage. Spread them as wide as you can by punching the fists forward. Up. Peel them back. Slide them down the rib cage. Drive them forward. One more time. Up. Peel them back, hold the pencil between the shoulder blades as you slide them down your rib cage, drop the pencil, and now reverse. Come back, pinch the pencil, slide the pencil up your spine, spread them wide, slide it down. I'm going to turn around so you can see for this last rep. We're down, pinch back behind you, slide them up, spread them as wide as you can, and pull them down. Beautiful. So from here, we're going into a nice split stance. Right foot is forward, left foot is back, left hand is behind the low back, right hand is right in front of the inner thigh. We're gonna max out external rotation. Maxing out external rotation, we're drawing that circle across our body as far as we can. Up and overhead as far as possible before you feel any sort of pinchy stuff on the front side of the shoulder. We're gonna internally rotate, reaching back all the way around to the back behind us. Imagine you're reaching into the back seat, trying to grab something that fell behind the car seat, all the way around, back to the front. Big deep breath, tension check, squeeze both fists, scissor the feet together, driving that arm up and across. Internally rotate as far as you can from the armpit. Reach back. Still driving internal rotation the whole way so that when you land, pinky is facing forward, thumb is facing back, knuckles are in the front pocket. Drive back. Externally rotate. Up and over the top. Externally rotate even more around the front. Go ahead and switch. So now, right hand is behind that low back, left hand is in front of the left leg. Creating a little bit of tension in that core, pushing down through the floor with our feet, pushing into our low back with our right hand. Externally rotate that left arm. So as you can see, the tattoo is starting to peek out. What you'll notice is that my palm and that tennis ball is not going further over my wrist because that's all just wrist. So that inside tattoo is just starting to peek out. From there, we're driving up and across our body. All the way up overhead, internally rotate, reach back. All the way, all the way, all the way, all the way, till we land in that left pocket. Now reach back. Open up. All the way back and around, reaching as far across your body in the front as you can. Okay, let's do one more rep. A lot of today is going to be lower body. If we have more time at the end, then I'm going to add in some shoulder work too. So I've planned shoulder work, but it's all a matter of making sure that everybody gets the most out of the lower body stuff that we're going to do. There's going to be some fun hamstring things. There's going to be some glute things. There's going to be some hip flexors and some quads. It's going to be hopefully not too crampy. Okay, let's go on to our elbows. Remember? So now as we externally rotate the shoulders, we're going to try to find neutral. So elbow pit is facing forward. From there, I want you to try to rotate out further from the elbow down. So the difference being, you still can't see the tattoo on my inner arm, right? If I was externally rotating from the shoulder, you see it starts to peek out, right? So I've hidden that, but I'm still trying to rotate from my elbows. Now I'm bicep curling up, trying to drive pinky to the outside of my shoulder as much as I can. We're supinating, pronating, drive down. Supinate, so palms are facing out. Drive that pinky all the way up to the outside of the shoulder. Pronate. Drive those palms through the floor. Feel your triceps squeeze as you come down. Now we're going to reverse. Knuckles are leading. Knuckles are coming up. Spin as far as you can so palms are facing out. And bring it down. Pronate. Up. Supinate. And down. Good. Okay, onto our wrists. So I'm going to challenge you guys to do both wrists the same time. So I know we've done kind of this blocked off wrist before. So what I want you to do is pin those elbows to the sides. Imagine you've got a piping hot cup of tea or coffee sitting on that forearm. We don't want to spill, okay? So we're going to tilt. Turn the pinkies in towards each other. Pull into wrist extension as far as you can go. Tilt thumb side. That's where you're going to spill the coffee, so don't do it. Pull up as far as you can to wrist flexion. And what that doesn't look like is this. Fingers aren't coming closer to you. We've got Barbie hands the whole time. Tilt pinky side. All the way into wrist extension. Thumb side. All the way up into wrist flexion. Pinky side. Wrist extension. Thumb side. Wrist flexion. And now we're backing up. So thumb side, wrist extension. Pinky side. All the way up to wrist flexion. One more time. Very nice. Okay, shake those off. So grab onto whatever you're using to help you balance. Broomsticks, door frame, doesn't matter. Because we're gonna do a couple hip cars. Losing tennis balls here. Okay. So as you drive that foot across, we're here and we're externally rotating as far as we can. So we're turning foot inside of knee out towards the camera as far as you can. As we do that, we're going to continue to pull into hip flexion and external rotation. From there, you're going to find neutral, drive up as high as you can. Open the gate, internally rotate. Lift that heel up as high as you can. Bring the knees to meet. Find hip extension. So squeeze those glutes without leaning forward at all. Lift the knee out to the side. All the way back to that open gate. Around to the front. Externally rotate. Bring it across. One more time. We're up. Neutral. Find a little bit more hip flexion. Out. Internally rotate. And around to center. Find that glute. Kick back to the couch behind you, to the wall behind you. Find your butt sensation. As you lift out, we're opening that gate. Around to the front. Externally rotate and come back down. Beautiful. Other side. So from here, we're bringing that foot across. Externally rotating, bringing it up into that hacky sack position as far as we can. Find neutral. Find more hip flexion. Open it out. Internally rotate as far as you can. Reaching back, find that hip. Find your glute, squeeze that butt. Lift as high as you possibly can. All the way to that open gate. Around to the front, externally rotate, bring it across. One last time. I don't want to do too many of these because we got a lot of balance coming. Anybody else need this today? My hips really needed some extra love today. Beautiful. Okay, so we're gonna sit on our stool for a moment and we're gonna do some knees and some ankles. So I'm rolling this up so you can see, but what I want you to do is just two hands in that elbow crease. I want you to squeeze your heel towards your butt as much as you can and feel that hamstring start to kind of fire up. From there, I want you to externally rotate your tibia. So I know this is new, but we're grinding that bug into the soil. We're putting out a cigarette. I know that's not the most apropos reference, but the imagery is there, right? We're cranking that in. We're trying not to use our ankle as much as we can. The ankle is moving as a byproduct of the knee. So from here now, we're externally rotating. We're going to extend up as high as we can, internally rotate, and pull back. Find that hamstring, externally rotate. Up, internally rotate, down. One more time, we're going internal rotation, up, external rotation, down, internal rotation, up, external rotation, down. Beautiful. So from here, we're just gonna go ankle. So now we're gonna grab the front side of the knee. And I just want you to try pull the toes towards the shins. Crank that big circle. Point that toe like the best dancer point you can give me. Pull up and around. Big ankle circles. Shin doesn't help, knee doesn't help. And reverse. Extra credit if you don't lead with your toes, which is really, really hard to dissociate toe from ankle. Good. Let's go to the other side. So behind the knee, find that rotation. External rotation, internal rotation. External rotation, internal rotation. So now we are externally rotated. Extend the knee as far as you can. Internally rotate, pull. Find that hamstring and pull it. Externally rotate and up. Internally rotate and down. Reverse, internally rotate and up. External rotation and down. Very nice, Robin. Internal rotation and up. External rotation and down. One more time, internal up, external down. Beautiful. So now we're gonna grab that shin, point that dancer toe. Tilt to the big toe side and pull all the way up into that nice big circle. Around. Nice big ankle circles in reverse. So doing it this way, our goal is to teach you to dissociate ankle from knee rotation, right? This is knee, this is ankle, right? Ankle's rotating without the knee, okay? So the last thing we're gonna do is toes. Toes is where the fun lives. This is a lot of people can't do this with their feet. So you can do this standing. You don't have to do it the way I'm doing it. I'm just doing it so you can see a little bit better. Your goal is to push down through first metatarsal and fifth, which is the first knuckle of big toe and pinky toe. From there, we're going to try to lift big toe. Do it without lifting the inside of the foot. Tap big toe. Lift it again. Up as high as you can and down. One more time, up as high as you can and down. Now pushing big toe down, lift the other four without losing contact with the fifth met. Up all four, down, up all four, down. Now lift all five, but keep that last knuckle, or excuse me, that metatarsal in contact with the box or the ground. Tap just big toe. 1, 2, 3. Now splay your toes as wide as you can and try to piano the toes into the box. Lift them all up. Splay them as wide as you can. Pinky toe, ring toe, middle toe, index, and big toe. Good. Switch. Lifting just big toe. Up. 1. Up. 2. Up. 3. Just the 4. Up. 1. Up. 2. Up. 3. And up 4. Lift all 5. Tap just big toe. 1, 2, 3. Pianos. Splay the toes as wide as you can. Tap pinky toe all the way down. Try to go one at a time. Lift them all back up. Splay them as wide as you can. Boom. One more time. Very nice. Everybody feel nice and warm on this weirdly 11-degree day? Okay, so now becomes the standing portion of the class. So I'm going to be coming at it from the side so you can see everything that I'm trying to do. This can also be done half kneeling. So if at any point balance becomes an issue, this is your go-to setup. So if the box is out of the way, we're keeping our balance tools and we're going to be here. Okay. This is your alternative if standing becomes a challenge. So what we're going to do is we're going to put that leg up onto a reasonably high box, stool, chair, whatever it is. We want to find a hamstring stretch, okay? But we don't want the leg locked out because you're likely then to just find that sciatic nerve and it's not really going to be a lot of fun. So a gentle bend in the knee. And then what you'll do to find that stretch, if you can be fully locked out at this height, I'm going to have you bend the knee just a little bit and then send your butt back. Just kind of give me a gentle hinge, okay? We'll give Robin a second to find her stretch. George, can you give me a little bit of a bend in the knee? There you go. And then from there, you're gonna, imagine you've got perfect flexibility, you're gonna send those hips back to get a bigger stretch. Nikki, for you, go to a good, comfortable stretch sensation. I don't need it to be extreme. I just want you to find some good work there. I know there's a lot of relaxin in those joints. We don't need to be creating insane amounts of flexibility. Okay, we're breathing here. We'll let Robin find her stretch. Take as big a breaths as you can. Try to find the end of that end range as much as you can that's comfortable. From here, the squeeze is not just pushing heel into the ground. It's actually pushing heel into box and trying to curl the heel towards you. What I don't want to happen is I don't want you to slide off. I want you to push down through that heel. Feel the hamstring pulling. Feel your glute trying to extend your hip, but you're at end range hip flexion, so that's not going to happen. Ramp that tension up from 20% to 40%. And as you do that, use your balance tools to create more tension. 40 to 60, 60 to 80. And your greatest, safest effort in this position, squeezing 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax for a second. What I want you to do now is squeeze hip flexor as if you could lift the leg off. Squeeze quad as if you could as if you could straighten your leg. But what I'm going to have you do is if you actually lift, I want you to create and absorb that space. So you're still deeper in that stretch. You're squeezing quad, you're squeezing hip flexor, but you're ultimately just in more hip flexion. Squeeze the top side of your leg. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax into that stretch. Let that tension kind of wind down. We're going to do that one more time just because this likely is new for everybody. So we're going to take a big deep breath again. We're going to trap that air in our core, really not trapping air, but we're squeezing that tension through our core as best we can, pushing down through the heel. 20% to 40, 40% to 60, 60% to 80. And your greatest, safest effort, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Quad hip flexor, lift, but don't actually lift. Absorb that space. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. If you need to step down for a second, you can. Shake things out because we're going to do some fun work in that exact spot. What we're going to do is we're going to take it to the end, the very, very end of that hip flexion that we've got with a nice neutral spine. So I don't need you to be fully extended. I also don't want you to be here because that's just spinal flexion. So what I want you to do is trap a little bit of air in your core. So keep that tension. Find the front side of the hip stuff. So hip flexors, quads. What I want you to do then is push down through your balance tools and take your leg with you and hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come back down to the box. Reestablish that passive range of motion. So imagine I've got my tennis ball here. I'm not going to have you guys do this because I know it's really uncomfortable. Imagine you've got your tennis ball or your rolled up sock in your hip crease right here. What I want to do as I lean back, it's my whole body is coming back, but the angle that I've created between my torso and my thigh is the same. And I'm holding 4, 3, 2, 1. Hinge. Pop that imaginary tennis ball, quads, hip flexors. Hold and lift. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Down. Okay. Coming out of that position briefly, we are going to now do some groin and inner thigh stretching. So the setup is essentially the same, but now you are facing forward and we are here. So it should be, ideally, let's keep the same leg so we can do all the work on one leg, and then we'll switch over to the other side. Nikki, feel okay here? Good. Robin, everything feels all right? You got a good stretch? Awesome. This is a lot of straight leg stuff. We're going to do some rotation in a second after this guy. We've got one more exercise in this position after this one. So while we're relaxing into this stretch, we're breathing. We're feeling a little bit of tension everywhere, but we want to just kind of make sure that we're getting a really nice stretch to that inner thigh. Okay. So what we're going to do now, we're creating tension right here. We want to squeeze inner thigh. We want to push foot down into box as much as we can. We've taken our adductors to the end of their end range lengthened position, and we are squeezing. We're building strength in that tissue. We're taking it from 20% to 40. The only thing I want you to avoid is if you start to feel pain at the knee, you can bend the knee slightly. I don't want any negative sensation at the knee. Squeezing 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now lateral hip. Squeeze this side. Imagine you're going further into the splits. You're not actually going into the splits, but you're squeezing that outside hip stuff as hard as you can. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax into that stretch. We're going to hang out here just a little bit more. That first one was kind of just getting rid of some of the neurological tension that builds about being in this position. Your body's going to guard as best it can. Okay, we're going to do another set there, and I want this to be the best effort you can give me. Okay, so our tension tools, our balance assistance, we're squeezing our legs together, trying to clap the thighs together. 20% to 40, 40 to 60 to 80, and your greatest, safest effort holding 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Top side of the hip, squeeze. As if you could lift that leg off the box, but it's not going to lift because you're already at your end range. Hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. So we're still here. We're still in our stretch. What I want you to do now, if you've got your tension tool, great. Nikki, I'm going to have you pivot so that you're facing out the window and you can still use the bookshelf. Okay? I'm going to have you back off of that stretch just a little bit. And if that means you have to lean away, that's totally fine. What I want you to try to do now, I'm going to have to lean away even more, is lift and down. And we're going to do 10 1-second holds. Okay? Ready? Big deep breath. Trap that air, create that tension, and lift. Hold. 1, down. 2, down. 3, down. 4, down. 5, down, 6, down, 7, down, 8, down, 9, down, and 10, down. Whew. That was some tough stuff. Grab some water if you need it. We're gonna do one more thing standing with this leg. So if you need to shake it out, you can absolutely do that. Okay, so our last thing in this series is gonna be rotation. So we're gonna kneel on our stool. Robin, if you wanna throw a couch cushion on top of that, that'll work perfectly. So we're in a little bit of an abducted position. Perfect, couch works. From there, I want you to leave this where it is, and I want you to turn your pelvis in that direction. This should feel like a really strange hip internal rotation stretch. And if you can't find it exactly in that position, you can go here. You can even sit on there if you've got the space for it. And we can be in kind of a half 90 position. So Robin, if you turn around real quick, I think this will work well. So the position that you're in is essentially right here. So it's the back half of our hip cars in this position, looking for a nice internal rotation stretch. There you go. So sit up nice and tall. Our pales contraction, our first contraction, is pushing the entire lower leg down through the box. So as if we could externally rotate all the way back to our hacky sack position. We're not actually doing that, obviously, because we've got our box here. So imagine that this box or this chair is trying to push you deeper into that stretch. I want you to increase pressure into the ankle, pushing down through your chair, pushing down through the lower leg into the chair as if you could sweep the leg back through. Increasing that tension from 20% to 40, 40% to 60, 60 to 80. We're smashing that leg down through the box or the chair. Squeezing 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And now try to lift ankle. So it's just this up. We're not trying to necessarily raise the knee up. We're just trying to get more rotation. So if you're in the standing position, turn your pelvis towards that thigh even more. Squeezing, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax into that stretch. Don't worry, we're not trying to do passive range holds or liftoffs in this position. All we're gonna do is we're gonna try to take ownership of all of the stuff that we just did in our hip cars. So we're gonna use our stool or our chair as an obstacle. And we're gonna try to do a hip cars fully over the top of it. Before we do that, we're gonna do one more set of this guy. And then we're gonna come up and we're gonna start really trying to hammer home the other stuff, okay? So ready? We're gonna increase that tension 20%. 40, pushing down through the surface. 60, 80%. Squeeze where you feel that stretch. Holding for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lift. Internally rotate harder. Squeezing, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax into that stretch. Whew. Okay, let's pause for a second. Let's give your stance leg a break. Sit down for just a brief moment, whether you're gonna grab water or not, just shake things out. I know it's a lot of standing and it's a lot of work on one hip. So one of the jobs of our hip cars is to provide a ton of blood flow to tissue that otherwise gets very, very poor circulation. Because the hip capsule itself doesn't contract, it just gets pulled on by all of the muscles around it. The only way to get that hip capsule blood flow is to get it to essentially get pulled on and wrung out, and then let it come back to that shortened position or natural position. So it squeezes the old blood flow out, or old blood out, and then gives kind of space like a sponge to soak up new nutrients. So by doing our hip cars, we're taking our hip through the biggest range of motion it has to perfuse that tissue with as much good, fresh blood flow, oxygenated blood, and nutrient-rich blood that we have. So your challenge is to perform your hip cars as close to your box as you can possibly be, hovering over it without leaning away. If you find yourself having to lean away in order to do it, totally fine. But what I want you to do is I want you to start lean. Give yourself a little bit of a lean and call it a running start, but it gives you the space. What I don't want to see is that you get here and have to do this to get it to go up over the top. I don't want that. If you're going to be that high, I want you to start in that weird, awkward kind of bent over position. Okay. So let's do a big deep breath. Let's trap some air. Let's radiate tension through our body. Oh, I see you cheating over there, George, lowering that chair. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Leave it where it is. Okay, so we're externally rotating. We're bringing that leg across. We're all the way up to our hacky sack position. Go neutral. Give me as much hip flexion as you can give me, which we just got some new stuff. Open up as wide as you can, staying over the top of that box. Internally rotate. Stay high all the way over it, all the way around until we've met those legs together. We're reversing, finding hip extension. This is going to be the hard part. As you come back and externally rotate, lift higher, 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 all the way up over the box. Come back down. Big deep breath. Again, up. All the way to a nice hip flexed and abducted position, that open gate. Internally rotate all the way around. All the way till we got those hips meeting each other. Reverse. Over the box. Over. And around and back. Everybody feel good? Now we got to repeat that whole series on the other side. You wouldn't want unbalanced hips, right? Okay, we're going back for our hip flexion and hamstring stretch. So I've kicked up the other leg, leaning in, and I'm finding a good stretch. So Robin, give me a gentle bend in that knee, beautiful. And then send the hips back. Because those hamstrings, as we're finding the stretch, part of this, we have to be in our stretch for a period of time in order for your nervous system to relax enough and prepare for the tension that we're going to put through it. So I like to take those moments to throw in some anatomy stuff or throw in some breathing work or give you a task to do in these positions. So with this, your hamstrings, part of your hamstrings cross your knee, part of your and then the rest, everything crosses your hip. So your hamstring's job is to extend your hip and bend your knee. There's a little bit of rotation in there too. So if we lock out the knee, we've effectively removed some of the tissue that we're looking to stretch, and then we've kind of closed the gap on the sciatic nerve. So what we're looking for by sending into more hip flexions, we're taking all of this tissue and we're lengthening it. So if Heather's ever had you do a Romanian deadlift or an RDL, which is like a hip hinge movement, likely you've felt a nice stretch through this tissue. The more comfortable you get here in what we're doing right now, it'll allow you to strengthen and stress new tissue in your hips and your hamstrings that you weren't otherwise hitting. With that being said, let's start our first contraction. So we're squeezing heel in through the box. We're trying to pull heel to butt, and we're trying to extend our hip at the same time. 20% to 40, 40 to 60, 60 to 80. And your greatest, safest effort, dabbing that heel down through the chair, holding for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Quad hip flexor. Remember, all that's doing is pulling us deeper into the hamstring stretch, holding 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax into that stretch. If you felt a tingle, I want you to bend your knee just a little bit more. No tingles. Tingles usually, especially if it travels down to your toes, indicates some sort of nerve sensation, and I do not want nerve sensation. We're looking for a nice deep stretch and nothing more. Everybody ready to go again? Pushing down. 20 to 40, 40 to 60, 60 to 80. And your greatest, safest effort, squeeze, holding for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Quads, hip flexors, lift, hold, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax into that stretch. If you remember, our next job is to establish that passive range of motion, the biggest stretch that you've got, squeezing the imaginary tennis ball between belly and thigh and leaning back and extending our back hip and taking that torso and thigh with us, holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let the leg parachute down, reestablish that passive range of motion, which was the stretch. Big deep breath, trap that tension, squeeze, give me hip flexor, and lift. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, down. This is different than our passive range liftoffs, which is what we did with the inner thigh. Big deep breath, trap that air, radiate that tension, and take it with us, holding 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and down. Okay, shake that one out. We're coming around to the straight leg inner thigh stretch. Everybody got a good stretch? So remember, in this case, toe is pointing forward. So imagine I've got my foot planted and we're doing a Jean-Claude Van Damme splits between the Volvo trucks. We don't want to be here because this is just, it's going to be hamstring in a slightly different position. What I'm looking for is inner thigh. So our hip should be internally rotated. Okay. We're hanging out here for just a little bit longer. Ready? We're pushing down. 20% to 40 to 60 and 80. Greatest, safest effort. Sorry, I know I'm making a gross face, but I'm getting a pretty decent stretch here. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Outer thigh. That glute min, squeezing, try to lift that leg, holding for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and slowly relax. From here, we're leaning out, just enough, just to give you a little bit of a running start. And then what we want to do is find that outer thigh, and we're lifting. We're doing those 10 1-second holds. Ready? Big deep breath, trap that air, radiate that tension, and up. 1, 2, down. 3, down. 4, down. 5, down. 6, down. 7, down, 8, down, 9, down, 10, and down. Beautiful. Okay. I know I'm cruising through this, but we're at 12:50. Is everybody okay going over just a couple minutes? If you've got to run, please feel free to go. I want to make sure I'm respecting everybody's time. Okay. So let's find that hip internal rotation stretch. So if we're kneeling, remember, if we're kneeling, we're getting it this way by turning our pelvis over that thigh. If we're seated, we're in this position. If you need to lean over a little bit, we can, but we're looking for as much internal rotation as we can get. Give some time for your central nervous system to relax into this position. Big deep breath. We're going to start getting some work done down through the inner thigh, trying to pull to hacky sack. In the case of the guys that are standing, what I want you to do is almost try to sweep that leg back through underneath you. But of course, the chair is not allowing that to happen. As if it would turn so if you're here, imagine as you squeeze, it would push you back out. I want you to stay square over that leg, holding for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and up. Try to drive yourself deeper into internal rotation. So that's lifting heel. That's driving that pelvis further over. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, give yourself a second to relax into that stretch. We're going to come out of it, and then we're going to do our hip cars. And then there may be a little bit of a bonus hip cars at the end. A little extra challenge wrap. Okay, so when I have you set up the box, where I want it to be is if you think about the cars as quadrants, if this is quadrant 1, this is quadrant 2, this is quadrant 3. So where I want it to be is like as if you were in hip internal rotation going towards the back half of your cars. So if it's too close to the front, you're going to be lifting over it here. I want you to be lifting over it closer to open gate / internal rotation position. There you go. Perfect. Ready? So we're going to externally rotate. We're going to pull all the way up into hip flexion. Give me more hip flexion. Open that gate over the top of the box. Internally rotate. Reach, 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 reach. Back to center. Lift as high as you can. This is the hard part. Externally rotate. Keep lifting. Up over the top. Around to start. Stab that heel across. Now we're pulling back up. External rotation. Open the gate with as much hip flexion as you can give me. Internally rotate over the top of the box. Find hip extension. Find that butt. Out and around over the box. And around back to the front. Okay. Bonus round. We've just done a lot of stuff where your hip moving is flying around in space. Now, your job is to try to do a hip cars with the leg that's on the ground. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to switch to your right leg. What it's going to look like, and this is kind of wild. Yes, definitely use something to support because it's going to be a big full body movement. Hip flexion, hip external rotation. Oh, here we go. Hip external rotation. All the way up, all the way around to hip internal rotation. Then we're going to reverse. We're going to externally rotate. We're going to pull into hip flexion. We're going to internally rotate, come around, and back to center. So all of that rotation, flexion, extension is coming from the stance leg as we go through and try to groove every last inch of the space that we just created in quite possibly the most awkward way ever. Okay, reverse. So we're in hip extension. We're externally rotating all the way around to that open gate position, into hip flexion, internal rotation, coming all the way around. Good. Other leg. I know this one's super foreign. I don't expect anybody to get it perfect. I'm still working on this myself. It's just a fun way to try to do the hip cars, but with the leg that's on the ground. Okay. Pull into hip flexion. I'll go this way so you can see. Hip flexion. As we externally rotate, we're opening up the gate. Pelvis is going towards the camera. We're bringing it around, back underneath us, around to center. We're extending our hip. We're externally rotating all the way back around. Now we're internally rotating and coming back to center. One more time. Hip flexion, external rotation, all the way back through to the reset. Then open up. Close that hips down. Pull the pelvis back underneath you. Woo! Everybody feel good?